let's turn our attention to Ireland and Scotland, who are both going through a bit of a transitional phase. Obviously, given you, we have to start with Ireland.
Given the Irish in you.
Yeah, given you. Otherwise, Rachel just won't be happy with me. So let's start with your favourite team. Ireland beat Turkey 1-0 in what was Carla Ward's first game in charge. Rach, heard you were there. Quite a cagey second half. How are you feeling, first and foremost? Give us some thoughts and emotions.
I thought this game would be tough and I just wanted them to get the win. The first game, get the win. And I touched on it there earlier about context, and there was, when I walked into the press room afterwards, I don't know who it was, but I heard someone on the phone basically being like, shite, awful, dreadful, oh yeah, absolutely bringing them back down to earth with a
Love
bang.
that.
Like reality check, all this kind of stuff. I was like, Jesus Christ. Okay, Carla had been in the job, I think.
Packed down with a back. Stay humble, guys.
Yeah, because we're losing out to qualifying at the Euros wasn't enough of a reality check.
You've always had a bit of a big head. Yeah.
Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, obviously Carla had only just come in. I think some of the players had been in since Monday. I think some of them even came in on the Tuesday. So they'd maybe had like 2 sessions, kind of max for this. And she touched on it post match as well that because of the pitch was honestly the worst I've ever seen it. Like, I came down from the stands onto the pitch and it squelched when I stood on it. It was so heavy.
Were you actually pitch side?
Yeah, I was shooting.
Oh.
So now obviously the edges of the pitch are going to be worse, but like there'd been a match on before and the turf, like I remember Aoife Mannion whipping in a cross in the first 5 minutes and she planted her foot and her planted foot actually slid forward and the turf came up with her foot in the first 5 minutes, right? So pitch was really cut up, which is the same for both teams.
I mean, that sounds almost unsafe though.
And you'd be nervous then, wouldn't you, kind of planting your foot. Then you'd factor in the bloody gale force wind. My God, my plane landing on Thursday night was one of the bumpiest landings. It was like turbulence the whole way over from London.
Did you bring your cagoule?
Sorry, I find cagoule such a funny word.
Did you bring it?
I did not bring a cagoule, no.
Well,
but I'd probably
about it enough.
blown away with a cagoule on. So yeah, I'd factor that in. So, playing on the ground, difficult, cut up turf, ball was slowing down. Play in the air, difficult, really bloody windy. I don't know if you've ever been to Tala. It's a wind tunnel on a windless day.
Doesn't make me want to go.
So it's right bottom of the Dublin Mountains. Wind whips down. So you'd have balls like sent in like they'd cross the ball and you'd be like, who was that too? It's gone like 10 yards completely past. So it was frustrating. 2 different styles of play you couldn't really get a handle on because of the conditions. That's a factor. Carla touched on that post-match. She was like, we had this plan that we then had to try and adjust once we saw the pitch and the conditions in the warm-up. That's a difficult thing to do. And then factor in they're coming off the back of one of the most devastating defeats in probably their history for a while. So there was a number of issues that I just think needed to be factored into that result. Turkey were tough. They were good. They were solid. Difficult to break down. Good on the counter, but then, not super efficient in front of goal, thank God. Because they did have quite a few corners. They had about 4 corners in the first about 10 minutes, which was a bit nerve-wracking. I actually thought when I sat down with photography, I was like, have I picked the wrong end? Am I shooting down Turkey's shooting end? I was like, where's the action? Because they had quite a few corners in the first half. So, yeah, all in all, the thing for Carla is to get the win. Get the 3 points. Get her reign off and underway. Get a bit more time then with the team before the Slovenia game, which is tonight, I believe. So, yeah, I'm not overly worried.
Well, I think you're having a habit today of preempting all of my
I'm so
questions
sorry.
from the listeners.
Gosh.
I really wish I could even pronounce the listener name, let alone the actual listener question. So, Claire de Mal, yeah,
Not bad.
yeah, has asked on Blue Sky, what were your impressions on that first Ireland game under Carla? Little nervy for a finish. Garevma Guiv.
Oh,
Yeah?
not great. But
Let me try again.
separate the words.
Garevma Agwiv.
Not bad.
Go on.
Gurav Mahagwiv.
What?
Not bad.
Blah, 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 blah.
That's pretty much what you said.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means thank you.
All of that for thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's like when we say welcome, we don't just say welcome, we say Cade Mila Fulcha, which means like 100,000 welcomes. Like it's a real warm kind of.
Seems a bit excessive.
It's lovely. It's because we're such nice people.
Just think it. feels a bit
Anyway,
much, but-
yeah, I'm happy that we're underway. I think players have spoken quite warmly about her, which you may have heard, which we'll get to on why you might have heard, because if you've been living under a rock and not listening to your episodes,
Right.
you'll get in trouble. But no, I was pretty pleased. Players seem happy enough. They know that they're trying to bring in a different kind of style of football, be a bit more comfortable in possession. You know, she's got a new backroom staff as well that they need to get used to. So, all in all, I'm pretty pleased.
Good. I'm really glad.
Yeah.
It always makes me happy when you feel that they've done well.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Let's discuss Turkey then. Do you feel like they were unlucky not to come away with anything?
No.
I think it was
nervy at the end, but they didn't deserve points out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Ireland were the better team.
From an unbiased perspective.
Well, while they were made, like, it was nervy towards the end, I don't think they created enough, you know, and then I think Ireland created a lot more, and it just would have been unfair, I think, for them to have nicked a point at the end. But I think it definitely worked as a bit of a wake-up call and a bit of a kick up the bum, do you know, that kind of way where it's like, listen, we might be in Group B and we might have dominated Group B last time.
Don't get ahead of yourselves, all right?
Yeah, feet in the ground, like, focus, put your chances away. I'd like to think pitches are going to be better in future matches, but who bloody knows?
Before we take a look at Scotland, Rach sat down with Ireland defender Aoife Mannion last week to discuss Carla Ward's arrival and much, much more. So make sure you go and check that out if you haven't already. You can find it below in the show notes.
She was great.
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely. I mean, she's such a great character.
Yeah.
She's such a great energy.
She's really open, and she reminds me a bit of a Leah Williamson when you interview her, because, like, she thinks about your questions. She's not like super media trained, given the kind of bog standard answer, and she's quite a thoughtful player. So yeah, she always good at an interview.
I'm a little bit gutted that I was away for that, to be fair.
No, you're not. You're delighted you're in Miami.
It was so hot. On the other hand, it wasn't the perfect start for Scotland. They lost their Nations League opener to Austria. It was a 1-0 defeat, and this was their interim head coach, Michael McArdle's first game in charge. A lot of new faces in the Scotland squad, with McArdle making 10 changes to the squad from that Euros playoff defeat. I mean, there's been a lot of... It feels like Scotland have been a constant state of transition for quite a while now, quite up in the air, quite turbulent. We're expecting much else really from the game.
I feel like it's less about losing to Austria, because they're a tough team to play against. I think it was more the nature of the defeat, and I do think it's a bit naive to think that simply getting rid of Losa would result in like a different looking Scotland that we're going to play amazing. That's going to take time, and they don't have the permanent manager in yet. So I think that kind of will probably maybe even weigh on them a bit. Like, I hope it's because the Scottish FA are out there looking for a really top candidate to help get them back into major tournaments. But the other party is probably thinking they haven't been brilliant in the past in terms of supporting us. Like, are they out there?
I was going to say, in terms of the investment into the Scottish squad, you still have to remember that there's 1 or 2 staff that are full time, and the majority are still part-time people in the backroom setup. I mean, the infrastructure alone is enough to kind of warrant results like this. You can't pull, regardless of how good your squad is and how good individual players are, you can't pull amazing results and qualifications out of your arse with nothing.
And I do think they're lacking in confidence. You know, each time these setbacks will really knock your confidence. And, you know, not just, McArdle touched on it, not just kind of in front of goal, but just more broadly on the pitch, is that, those flat performances, players are just like, I'd say struggling mentally when going back to, because everyone loves to play for their country, but you want to really feel like you're being supported, and especially when the talent that they've got, so yeah, I do think getting the right new manager in can revitalise them and hopefully get the best out of what is a very talented squad. And it is great to have seen some new players coming through as well and getting debuts.
Tough group though. Austria arguably the easiest opponents of the group, with the Netherlands and Germany making up the remainder of A1. They go into the Netherlands game tomorrow.
But you also know in Group A, it was the same with Ireland. You've got to look at what's in front of you and be realistic about it, and utilise playing these top teams to the best of your ability. And that's difficult when you've got an interim manager, right? Like, it would have been great to have a manager in now to be like, this is the style of football we're going to play. This is how we're going to approach these games and how we can learn from these games. And I'm sure McArdle's going to be doing that, but it's just difficult when you know it's interim. For sure.
I think any kind of style of play that you try and implement now is going to be maybe washed away by the next manager, or they're going to pick different people, or it's going to look like a completely different setup. So yeah, I think you're completely right.
It's difficult to feel like you're on a journey of progress like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of feels like a bit of a stagnant period, I think. But at the same time, obviously, they're going to be going into these games wanting to give it their absolute all. I mean, there's always Scottish heart, like regardless of like the situation, the circumstances around them. But yeah, that is a bit of a toughie. And I think going off the back of that 1-0 defeat to the easier side in the competition,
they need a break, and I do think that will come in the face of a new manager and freshness and
For sure. I think the expectation realistically is fairly low for this part of the competition. But at the same time, that's a good thing. The pressure's off. It's just kind of ride out these games.
do in Ireland.
Do
And
your
in
best.
in the last game, like batter Germany or the Netherlands and surprise everyone like we did France.
100%. All right. Scotland, you've got it in you.
You absolutely do.